Hey there, welcome back to our channel. I am Jill Smith, one half of the Smith Serve. We are a nonprofit development company. Our mission is to help nonprofits with their mission, raise awareness um, so that they can attract the right people and generate as much revenue as possible to impact communities and change lives. Our primary audience that we serve is founders. We primarily serve founders. We have a heart for founders because founders, they are the ones who are serving. A lot of times they're given more than they have, trying to do good in the community. And so we saw that there was a need. And so that's what we're passionate about. That's what we serve. Mainly founders who have started nonprofits 5 years or less. But we also serve well-established nonprofits because they need help too. All right. So if you are watching this video on YouTube, make sure that you first subscribe, but make sure that you also join our Facebook group, Founders of Nonprofits. If you are watching this in the Founders of Nonprofits Facebook group, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel. Our Founders of Nonprofit Facebook group is growing. There are thousands of founders in there doing phenomenal things. And so it's a good place to glean information, to offer your ideas, and to learn new things and meet new people and meet other nonprofits that are doing similar missions in other cities. And so it's great networking. Though, I mean, I'm just so honored that we started that group. My husband and I started that group last year, and it has grown like crazy. And so to be able to steward that group and to even learn, I'm even learning also just some of the latest platforms and tools. And so it's a great community. So make sure that you go over to that community. So I heard a statistic. I knew that I let me just tell you what the statistic is. I heard that a third of nonprofits that are operating in the US, a third are operating on $30,000 in revenue per year or less. 30,000. I knew that it was low, but I did not know it was that low. And so that really disheartened me when I heard that, as well as, listening to those in the Facebook group with their challenges. 90% of the members, the founders who are members who are coming into that group, 90% are saying that their biggest challenge is funding. So as a result, I developed a 3-hour training called the Six Figure Nonprofit. And the whole mission of that training is to um, help you start the right way, start your nonprofit the right way, and position you the right way so that you can be eligible to compete for that six-figure grant funding. Because we know without funding, you cannot properly impact and serve. And so the training is absolutely free. It is absolutely free. It is absolutely free. It is a labor of love. And so the link is at the bottom so that you can get access to that training. And so I made it just for you. That name rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but I'm sorry. At the end of the day, you all need funds. You all need money. And so uh, although I apologize, I will not apologize because you all need money. All right. So I thought it was very needed for me to talk about this subject today, public charity versus private foundation. Why? Because one, a lot of you are establishing your nonprofits and you have foundation in the name when you are indeed set up as a public charity and you want to operate as a public charity. Also in the Facebook group, what I am hearing is that a lot of founders are saying that they are established as a public charity, but they want to change over to a private foundation or vice versa. And so I just want to give you a little clarity between the two so that you can make the right decision to either change, which is a process. It's about $500 to change it over with the IRS. And it's time consuming to just change it over. And so it may take up to a year to get it changed over. But those of you who are considering starting a nonprofit and have not established your nonprofit yet, have not filed it as a legal entity, this video will be very beneficial to you. So what is the difference between a public charity and a private foundation, and which one should you pick? And so this is the very elementary explanation of it. I'm going to try to make it as elementary as possible so that you can make the best decision for yourself. So let's start first with a public charity. So what you need to know about a public charity, one, is that you do not own it. You do not own it. It is owned by the public for a public interest. So what does that mean? That means that you cannot pass it down to your children. So if you are the founder, you will always be the founder, no matter who serves as an executive in the nonprofit. But say, for instance, you're serving as an executive, as the executive director, as well as the founder of your nonprofit. But then you decide you want to step down and step away and do some other things, retire or whatever, and you want to pass it down to your son or your daughter. You cannot do that. Or a family member, you cannot do that. Why? Because you do not own it. The other unfortunate thing is that, well, I'll get to that in a moment. The other thing you need to know is that it is governed by a board. The board has to be comprised of those who represent the public. With that being said, you got to answer to a board. You've got to answer to a board. You've got to answer to a board. So with that being said, it could be that if you want to pass your nonprofit down to your son or your daughter, it has to go through the board. The board has to say yay or nay. And 9 times out of 10, if your son or daughter does not qualify, they may say nay. The other thing is that because you are governed, your nonprofit is governed by a board, they can remove you if they deem necessary. And so if there's any type of issue in the organization and the board collectively agrees that you should be removed as the executive, you will always be the founder, you can be removed, unfortunately. The other thing is that a public charity offers programs and services. Programs and services. So a program of service is that, first of all, let me say this. The nonprofit sees that there is an issue in the community. Say there is gun violence or crime or juvenile delinquency. There is an issue in the community, and your nonprofit, with your gifts, talents, and skills, say that I have the expertise and the knowledge and the gifts, talents, and skills to help solve this problem. And so that's why you establish a nonprofit. So your nonprofit will establish a program from the delinquent to, or let me say this, from the victim to the victor. There's a process that you've taken this person through, or you may provide any other services. Maybe you're feeding the homeless, but you're providing a program or a service to the public to aid a need, to aid a problem, to help fix a problem. So if there are homeless people and you're trying and they're hungry, they have a problem because they're hungry, you are feeding them. And so you have a whole program that's structured with its own policies and procedures and criteria, and you're collecting data, and you have a database, and you have clients, and that is a program. And so you have a program under a public charity. That's what is required without a program, there is no nonprofit. And so a public charity has a program. The other thing is that a public charity is funded by the public. A public charity is funded by the public. A third of your revenue must come from the public. In addition to grants, you have individual donors. You can have sponsorships. You can also generate revenue through fee for service. Say if you want to do counseling or coaching, you can also do product sales. Say if you want to sell T-shirts or all that good stuff. All that's in the six-figure nonprofit.org link. I teach you all of this, but that's ways to generate funding, but all of that falls under a public charity. A public charity is also classified as a 501c3 tax exempt organization. All right, so that's a public charity. So the two biggest things I want you to take away with a public charity, even though it's a little shallow, but this is the best way to think about it when you're trying to make a decision. You're eligible for grants, but you don't own it. You're eligible for grants, but you don't own it. All right, so let's talk about a private foundation. A private foundation. So a private foundation, it is governed and founded by an individual, a family, or a corporation. So, like you may see the Target Foundation. The Target might have a private foundation, or you may see a family who have lost a loved one and they establish a private foundation in the honor of their loved one. And then you also may see a private foundation for, say, a celebrity or a public figure. They may have a private foundation. And the reason why they do this, let's just be clear. Although they want to do goodwill in the community, the main reason why they do this is because establishing a private foundation is such a great wealth strategy. It is a wealth building strategy. And so the founder, a private foundation founder governs everything. And so the board that a private foundation has can have family members on it. They do not need to have programs and services. They can if they want, but they do not need to have programs and services. They don't answer to the public. What else? They don't answer to the public. They can fundraise. What else? Most private foundations, what they do instead of having programs and services, what they do is they bring awareness to a cause. Say, for instance, they may raise money or awareness, say for Heart Health Month, or for breast cancer, or for autism, or they're bringing awareness to a cause. The biggest thing about a private foundation is that you will be the grantor. So you will not be receiving grants. You will be the grantor. So you will be making grants or scholarships to a public charity. And so, so let me just tell you how this works in terms of revenue, because the main revenue source will be you. You will be the main revenue source. So let me tell you how this works and why so many people start private foundations. My husband and I, our nonprofit is a private foundation. So let's just say, so the government says that you can put up to 30% of your income into your private foundation. So let's just say that your salary at your full-time job was $100,000 a year. The government says you are allowed to put $30,000 into your private foundation. So you have $30,000 in your private foundation. However, of that $30,000, at least 5% you must grant it out. So you either need to put it in, you either need to make grants to public charities, which you got to have a criteria set up, or you can give away scholarships, but at least 5% of that $30,000 must go back out to the public, to a public charity. And so what happens with that other money? You ask, what happens with that other money? It sits and it grows. It's invested. It sits and it grows. And that's why a lot of people think of a private foundation as asset protection. In some ways, yeah, it is, because you can not only put your income in there, but you can also transfer stocks, your investments, real estate, lottery winnings, antiques, art. You can put so much in your private foundation, and it's a wealth building strategy, even though, and on top of it, you are doing good in the community. So, so that's why, and again, you can fundraise. You can definitely take individual donations. You can fundraise, but you will not be getting grants because you are the grantor. And so that is the difference. There is a benefit, and a private foundation is also classified as a 501c3 taxes and organization. So there are many benefits with both, but with a private foundation, the takeaway. So a public charity, the takeaway is that It think about, you can get grants. You're eligible for federal, state, local, and private foundation grants, but you do not own it. A private foundation, even though you don't own it, you control it. So in essence, you do quote unquote own it. A private foundation, think of it is like a wealth building strategy, but you got control over it as well. And I should say, you got control over it as well. So there you have it. There you have it. So think what's best for your family's future, for your time, for your money. The great thing with the private foundation is that it does not, you can be operational or non-operational, meaning that you can also have a program under your private foundation. But for the most part, most private foundations, they just grant out the money. They have a criteria. They announce a grant or a scholarship, and people apply to it, and they might have their family members come together and decide who they want to grant the money to. That may be one. Can you imagine having a family vacation that's paid out of the foundation, where you get together with your family members, you have a strategic board meeting, as well as determine who's going to get grants or scholarships for the year, whoever applied, but also be able to enjoy your family in a beautiful vacation because that money is there to do so. I mean, you want to be careful and you want to be good stewards over, the revenue, but it's allowable. It is allowable. And that's why a lot of those who are building wealth, that's why they establish private foundations, because I mean, you are, yeah, the tax benefits, the asset protection. And so yeah, so think about what's best for, as I said, your money, your time, your family, your desires. Public charities, is a lot of work. There's a lot of work that you must do in the beginning before you can get that revenue up, before you can hire staff. There's a lot of work. In a private foundation, it takes, money. And so you got to just think what's best for you. So I hope this helps. If you have questions, please put them below and I will answer them. I know it's a very, very elementary explanation, but I think it's enough to help you make the best choice of how you want to go about serving, because both of them are about, at the end of the day, both of them are about the people who you will be serving at the end of the day. And so I hope this helps. And again, throw some questions down at the bottom and I will get back with you. All right. Yeah. Don't forget to take the training, the six-figure nonprofit.org. Take the training, get access to the training. What else? I am available now. I am, as of September 1st, I will be available for coaching again. I will have some slots open. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right. You all be blessed. And yeah, see you on the next video.